This brings up a great topic because I need to verify your age somehow. You say you're 55, but I don't believe you. Now, you guys know there's a lot of graphs that we've talked about or mentioned or shown on this stream that basically have a similar theme, which is that teens are getting more depressed, largely because of social media. If you're spending more time on social media, you're more likely to have mental health problems or depression or hurts your sleep, hurts your mental health. We're seeing the rise of that. We're seeing social media as the biggest threat to teens' mental health, above technology, bullying, pressure, and the state of society. Social media in general. We're seeing massive spikes ever since social media hit the mainstream in 2010 in depression, especially among teen girls, but even among teen boys. Although I guess around 2020 kind of leveled off. We understand it now. Teen boys just figured that shit out right around 2019. Maybe it was just being stuck at home and gaming. Anyway, maybe worst of all, other than everyone getting more depressed and anxious and higher mental health problems, they're also more distracted. The percentage of US teenagers, and this is actually a global effect, who read in their leisure time has dropped to, I think, generational lows. In my lifetime lows. Half of them say they read essentially zero. Essentially zero. Half of them essentially don't read at all. And large of it is because of social media. So we get this combination. Never before in our lifetimes have so many children and young people suffer from anxiety and depression and had difficulty reading and concentrating. We got worse reading, worse concentration, and unhappiness. All these graphs are bad. They go up and to the right, up and to the right, up and to the right. What can we do as a society to turn these graphs upside down, to get them back to the right direction? Go to a country that's upside down. All we have to do is fly to Australia, where they are attempting to tackle all of these challenges with a brand new under 16 social media ban. Here is the Prime Minister, Albo, explaining it.
Across Australia, those under 16 are starting their day a little differently, without social media. It's a big change, and we're the first country in the world to give it a crack. By banning social media for those under 16, we're giving children a childhood and parents more peace of mind.
So that was his ironic TikTok announcing this, which is banning TikTok for those under 16. One thing he goes on to say in the news broadcast is that he really hopes that kids will get back outside, touch grass, and play footy with their friends, which is why it's funny that one of the top comments was this: giving children a childhood? Sorry, I don't want to play kick the can. Times change, buddy. So reaction from those under 16 wasn't as extremely positive, but this all happened rather quick. I mean, why Australia of all countries? So American psychologist Jonathan Haidt wrote this book a little while back called The Anxious Generation, basically saying that the phones are causing an epidemic of mental illness, that it's poisoning children's brains and their lives and ruining their concentration. This guy is an Australian politician, and his wife read the book, and she basically said, hey, you've got to read this book. You've got to do something about it. Okay, this guy is Peter Malinauskas. So he starts championing this bill, which is like, we have to do something about it. We have to ban under 16 social media. He's a wife guy. He's a wife guy. He doesn't want his kids addicted to social media. So they start this Let Them Be Kids campaign. This is the idea. Let them be kids. We're going to get rid of social media and let them actually spend time outside, yada, yada, yada. Within 6 months, I'm not kidding, 6 months of her reading this book and saying this bill is now law, passed, and coming into action as the Great Australian Firewall. And I will say, there's going to be a wide variety of opinions on this, but as far as I can tell, when Australians are polled on this, not just in this poll, but other polls, they generally support it. However, it is worth saying that they don't really poll under 16s. They're not answering the surveys. So Australians as a whole, adults, support this ban. But people who are under 16, who are affected by it, generally hate it. They're very against it. And so when they woke up like 2 days ago, the first thing they see is, due to laws in Australia, you won't be able to use social media until you've turned 16. See next steps. Like, this is the login thing they got when they tried to log into their accounts on social media. And the entire world is watching because a lot of people in a lot of countries are talking about something similar and they want to see how it goes in Australia. I'll say it hasn't gone perfectly. Okay. Whether you like it or not, I want to break down why it's not going perfectly. First off, you have to pick which things you're going to ban. It's not like a blanket internet ban, it's a social media ban. So what classifies as social media? These are the platforms they chose: Facebook, Threads, X, Snapchat, Kick, kind of an honor to be mentioned. Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, and YouTube. But Kick is the smallest one here. These are the platforms that are banned for under 16s. All of these companies is now required to do their best effort of stopping under 16-year-olds from accessing the website. And if they don't put forward their best effort, and that's by the government's discretion, they get charged a multi-million-dollar fee, which we'll get into later. I mean, there's a lot of things missing, but there's probably 2 things missing that immediately jump out to you. Can you guys guess? What are the 2 things missing that like are prime candidates for under 16 brain rot? Everyone already guessed it. Roblox and Discord. Bro, Roblox and Discord not being banned if you're trying to stop under 16 brain rot? Maybe they're not banning Roblox because people are using it to become Australian patriots.
So many ways to love ya.
I'll get banned. People are becoming Australian patriots in Roblox. Maybe that's why it's not banned, but like in terms of hours usage per day, there's a huge cadre of young Australians for whom this is the biggest part of their day. This is the most addicted thing they are addicted to. So all these are exempt. Discord, GitHub, is that a problem? These are the key ones. Discord, Roblox, and technically YouTube Kids. Because if you are a brain-rotted young Australian who is spending 8 hours plus a day on your phone and addicted to social media or addicted to the internet, these can fill all your time. You can literally still watch Roblox content, play Roblox, and chat about it on Discord. Like this stuff is all on YouTube Kids. So I doubt they're stopping brain rot if people are still watching this Australian streamer play Steal a Brain Rot. I don't know that they're changing much. Online gaming has escaped Australia's social media ban, but critics say it's just as addictive. Now, I don't know where I stand. I think some games are pretty incredible and can teach you things. I feel like Minecraft is generally good for most kids. Like they learn a lot. It's a safe. I don't know. I don't know where I stand on this specifically, but I do think that it's kind of weird when hours wise, social media and Roblox are about equivalent for a huge chunk of these kids, and you're only banning one half. All right, so back to this. So the ban comes in. You now have to be 16 or older to use TikTok in Australia or any of these platforms. You get this pop-up. And you might think that's the end of that. You might think, okay, well, they figured it out.
Logging on to be told they were logged out. Messages like these sprayed Australia-wide.
Unless it turns out when you try to ban a bunch of degenerate internet-addicted kids from using the internet, they're going to fight back. And they went through a lot of different methods that are poking a lot of holes in this so-called social media crackdown. First off, you might notice this crazy looking mask because one of the ways you verify your age is by scanning your face. They have like AI detection to determine whether or not you're old enough. Well, it turns out you can buy a mask on Temu for 20 bucks.
Believe it or not, this $22 mask is capable of tricking the face scanning tools designed to guess your age.
But it's not just the mask. So they're buying Guy Fawkes masks. They're buying this mask. Even this mask right here has been proven to work. It doesn't work every time because it's AI and you can just keep doing it. People just repeat it over and over until it lets them through. Another way people are finding out is because gaming is not restricted, Steam is still available, people are just going into Death Stranding 2 photo mode. Because the most advanced AI detectors make you do actions like open and close your mouth, but you can do that in the photo mode, as seen here.
I'm gonna give this a go, I guess. Start face scan. Come closer to the
scan
camera.
the face, and then it's like, okay, well, open and close your mouth to prove you're a human.
Open your mouth.
So he just goes to the menu and hits mouth open.
Close your mouth.
And then closes it.
Stay still.
And he's an adult.
It just did it. Age group, adult.
So if they thought they had this figured out, if Albo thought this was going to be a day one victory, it's proving to be a lot more difficult than they thought. And to emphasize that, I pulled up this TikTok from earlier and I checked the comments. Every single comment on his announcement of the ban is a 16-year-old saying, ha ha, you didn't ban me. Hey mate, still here. I love how no one has gotten banned on TikTok yet. How Anthony be feeling after unsuccessfully banning under 16s from social media. Buddy, everyone still has it. Why are they acting like they did so much? So the effectiveness was rather nil. Australian teams bypass social media ban. The Prime Minister, Albo, says it was a bumpy rollout. He admits it was a bumpy rollout. He said you can't switch off 1 million accounts across the board, but it is happening. And I respect the commitment, but it's going to be clearly a more difficult fight than they thought, because I think we can all agree that something has to be done, right? Something has. I don't know if it's a ban, I don't know what it is, but like just plugging our ears and changing nothing is clearly not working, as the graphs at the beginning are evidence of. Like we're absolutely getting a worse outcome for young people because of social media. There must be some sort of change. However, this particular path seems a lot like what you might call security theater, which is what like the TSA has been accused of being, because the TSA spends hundreds of millions of dollars and then independent studies show that it has like absolutely no effect. It's like, it feels like we're gonna do this all advanced thing and have these AI age checkers and all this crap, and they're gonna like make a big show of it to show they're doing something about social media, but it won't actually change youth's habits or their ability to use it. And I think there's a real shot of that. And one reason I want to point that out is because we've talked about this on this broadcast before, but there's a concept known as the cobra effect, after a almost mythological tale from India when British controlled India, where Britain was trying to remove the cobras in India. So they made a law saying, if you bring us a dead cobra, a cobra skull, we'll pay you money. And instead of getting less cobras, people started breeding cobras. And there was massive cobra farms, and the cobra problem got worse than ever. If you create these bad incentives, like even if you have a good idea, it might backfire. And I think there's a good case for this social media ban, the way it's currently positioned as being a bit of a cobra effect. The main immediate reaction for this ban in Australia was not like people getting off their phone and going out into the world and playing footy. It was downloading a different social media app. Like Lemon8, Yope, Coverstar, and WhatsApp all immediately skyrocketed to the top of the Australian charts. Lemon8, by the way, is just a sister app of TikTok. So like one of the reasons they kept mentioning was like, we have a security vulnerability because China owns TikTok and they have a great influence over our culture. And so everyone just went to a different ByteDance app. It's not like a massive change. And Lemon8 is roughly the same algorithmic way to TikTok. So I don't think it was very effective. And the fact is, like, if you're going to a place called Yope, you'll go anywhere. Like, it just shows that if kids are on their phone, like if you haven't changed phone culture, then the app doesn't matter. If they can't use TikTok, they use Lemon8. If they can't use Instagram, they'll use Yope. If they can't use Yope, they'll use Excel sheets like it's that music video from '99. They'll get in Google Sheets and talk, they'll do whatever. Like, they're not gonna leave their phone. They're going to talk to each other, bro. They're gonna find a way to make some social thing to get addicted to because they haven't changed the incentives that keep them in their house on their phone. So, additionally, the final reason it's all kind of for naught is that the easiest way around it is just simply to have a VPN. And Australian searches for VPNs hit the highest in 10 years right before the ban took effect. People are getting free VPNs and even paid VPNs at an insane rate. So their ability to like set their location to Norway and get around the system is like very easy. And now they're no longer having a problem. So again, there's ways I'm sure they can like plug some of these loopholes, but it's going to be a much more difficult, longer lasting cat and mouse game than I think they predicted. Additionally, the tech companies, Facebook, Google, ByteDance, they all hate this law, obviously, because it loses them customers. So they're basically only complying maliciously. They're complying to the bare minimum they have to count as reasonable steps. And the fine they get if they don't do reasonable steps is only $32 million. So it's like they're doing it. They're gonna follow along and they're gonna say we're doing our best effort, but they're not like super incentivized to deeply care and make like the latest and greatest tech for Australia to get around it. Additionally, children and parents who flout the ban have zero consequences. There is absolutely nothing you can do to anyone. If you see a kid under 15 on social media, there's no punishment, there's no problem. The only punishment is for the social media apps, and it's only this relatively minor amount. So the idea that there's gonna be like really, really fast working turnarounds to plug every loophole, I think is kind of like mistaken. However, it's worth saying, and I need to say this, I'm kind of making fun of this ban because it's kind of been a shitty rollout. It's not working, and a lot of things you expect to happen are happening. Like all the loopholes are happening. I do agree that's a problem. I don't want to just make fun of it and say we shouldn't do anything. And I'm not the only person saying this. Countries around the world are looking at Australia and being like, hey, look, at least they're doing something. There's a real push even in Congress to be like, hey, Australia's doing something. Why aren't you doing more to protect kids? It's bipartisan. There's a bipartisan push from people across the aisle to be like, we need to do something about social media. Countries across the world are trying to copy this ban. Governments are studying the decision. I looked it up, dude. I could find South Korea is trying to do teen media curbs. Denmark is doing under 15 social media ban. They say phones are stealing childhood. Spain is banning children under 16. France is banning children under 15. They're also banning, for some reason, websites selling knives to children in the same announcement. Is that a big problem in France? Are those the big two things? Malaysia is banning children under 16. Like, this is all happening now. Again, even 1 year ago, a lot of this stuff seemed unthinkable, but it's moved so fast. It moved so incredibly. Australia's the first, but a lot of them are right behind. Brazil is doing a law to regulate children's use of social media. So people are going to do something. And I think the key theme here across what we're seeing around the globe is that the governments of the world are no longer willing to wait. And I can't blame them. The problems are so profound, and the tech companies have figured out a strategy of just basically like dragging it out. They just say, oh, we're working on it. Oh, we've got these new features, but nothing changes at all. And they just get another 5 years, another 5 years, another 5 years, another 5 years of like absolute profit off the minds and the backs of young people. And they make no changes to their algorithm, they make no changes to anything beneficial to society. And so people aren't willing to wait. And I do agree with this article I read, which said, at the end of the day, the person that's most afraid of this is like a Zuckerberg. The social media companies are most afraid of a safer internet that has different goals than maximizing use, maximizing watch time, maximizing algorithmic attention. However, I gotta say, I think the way this one's rolled out feels pretty stupid. I don't know that I have the solution though. I kind of wanted to put a question up here and ask if anybody has ideas for like a better way. At the end of the day, I'm happy something is happening and I respect the attempt to try because we can't just wait, but this feels more like security theater than anything else. So I don't know. Credit check, ask Cortana for help, jail the kids. You think every child should be locked up until they're 16 and then we let them out and give them a phone? They can work in the coal mines. We can get them, put them to work. I mean, I don't even know if a ban's the right thing. I mean, in an ideal world, right, the parents would enforce this and parents would be like, hey, keep my kid off social media. But we just know that's not going to happen. So we got to be smarter than that. And I know there's a lot of under 16-year-olds who are like, hey, I need social media. It's really important. And I will just say, man, I don't know. I think it's cap, bro. I think the way I read a lot of under 16-year-olds talk about this ban and they make smart sounding arguments and they're really passionate about it, but it sounds to me like the way a heroin addict talks about how they don't really need it. You know, they'll say anything, bro. It feels like cope. It feels like, but I do understand that like, if you give someone a phone, you put all their friends on the phone and then you just ban the top apps, they're just going to do a different app. Like it's not on them to change if that's how shitty it's rolled out. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I do want to say, I mean, one last thing. So I've been working on this presentation a little bit past few days. In the past few days, there was a major shooting in Australia, a country that already has pretty strict gun laws. And so it's a political firestorm there. I didn't really cover it here because it's a little too serious for this subject. However, the odds that they're going to get the political momentum to fix these problems quickly kind of are way lower now that everybody has turned their attention to the shooting. The shooting is like the big thing in politics right now for Australia, and it's less likely they can get the momentum for this. So I don't know. I'm just feeling this might be a flop. It might just be a failure. Maybe it'll work out in other countries. Maybe Australia will get changes made, but. And there's a problem with privacy too. I am a little bit concerned. I do think the momentum or the reasoning behind this, at least in Australia, is because they would like kids to go outside and have better lives. I agree with that. But once you give the government access to like control and restrict social media easily, it is a tool that can be abused. That kind of spooks me down the road. So I don't know. It'll never stop 100% of the kids. No, I agree. And I think if you could get a huge chunk of them, I think it's a fair argument. If you can get 80% of the kids banned and only the extreme grinders can find ways through, or if it's like so annoying that it's like not worth their time, then maybe you could change the culture enough that people are going outside or doing something else. That's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying in the short term, if you're not even getting 5%, nobody's changing their behavior.